What if I told you that the perfect day for pike fishing isn't sunny and calm? What if it's the day everyone else stays home, huddled by the fire? The day the snow is coming down so hard you can barely see your rod tip. Sounds crazy, right? Well, today we're exploring that exact idea, that fishing in the middle of a full-blown snowstorm is the secret to catching absolute monster pike. We're going to challenge everything you've been told about fishing in bad weather. And by the end of this video, you might just find yourself checking the weather forecast for blizzards, not blue skies. We'll break down the science, the myths, and the hard-won experience that explains why so many anglers go home empty-handed, while a select few are pulling in giants from the chaos. So let me know in the comments right now, just to get it out of the way. Am I completely insane? Or have you ever had a legendary day fishing in a snowstorm? For generations, we've been taught a certain set of rules. The old-timers, our granddads, the guys at the bait shop, they all say similar things. Fish when the weather is stable. A nice, steady, high-pressure system is your best friend. They'll tell you to go out just before a front moves in for that little flurry of activity, but once the storm hits, pack it in. Go home. The fish will get lockjaw and hunker down on the bottom, and for most of us, that's what we do. It makes sense, doesn't it? It's cold, it's miserable, visibility is low. Why would a fish want to be active in that? This belief is so ingrained that 99% of anglers view a snowstorm as a full stop, the end of the fishing day. But what if that common wisdom is only telling half the story? What if it applies to the bait fish, but not to the apex predator that's hunting them? Let's start with the biggest piece of the puzzle, barometric pressure. We've all heard about it. We check it on our weather apps. The common belief is that stable or slowly rising pressure is good and rapidly falling pressure is bad. But for big predators, a dramatic nosediving barometer is like a dinner bell. Think about a typical bluebird sky day in the winter. The pressure is high and steady. You can see for miles, and often you can't buy a bite. The fish are neutral, inactive. Now picture the hours leading up to a major snowstorm. That barometer is in free fall. This drastic change in atmospheric pressure signals to every living thing that a major event is coming. For a massive, opportunistic predator like a northern pike, this is a trigger. It's a signal that the easy hunting is about to begin. The rules of the game are about to change in their favor, and their ancient, hardwired instincts tell them to get ready to feed, and feed heavily. It's a primal response we can use to our advantage. Now, let's think like a pike. You are an apex predator. Your entire existence is built around ambushing and killing your prey with maximum efficiency and minimum energy expenditure. On a calm, clear day, your prey can see you coming. The water is still, sound travels far, and the small fish are on high alert. It's not ideal, but when a snowstorm rolls in, everything changes. The wind picks up, the water gets churned, snow is limiting visibility from above and below the surface. This is chaos. And for a predator, chaos is opportunity. The bait fish, the perch, the shiners, they get disoriented. They break from their schools. They get pushed off their usual structure, and they become nervous and vulnerable. This is the exact environment a monster pike is built to dominate. It can use the low light and disturbed water as perfect cover to launch devastating ambushes. The storm isn't a nuisance to the pike, it's the perfect hunting ground. Let's talk more about that low light. Big, mature pike are often very wary. They didn't get that big by being stupid and sitting out in the open during bright sunlight. They spend a lot of time in deep water under thick weed cover or tucked up against shady structure. But a heavy snowstorm is like a giant dimmer switch on the entire lake. The thick gray clouds and the falling snow block out a huge amount of sunlight, creating a low-light environment even in the middle of the day. This gives those giant, cautious pike the confidence to leave their lairs and actively roam in search of a meal. They feel less exposed, less vulnerable to threats from above, like ospreys or eagles. It's the same reason the bite for many species picks up at dawn and dusk. The snowstorm essentially creates an extended period of dusk, giving you a much wider window to connect with a trophy fish that might otherwise only feed under the cover of darkness. It's a game changer. Here's something you might not have considered: the sound, or rather, the lack of it. Picture yourself on a dead calm winter day. Every sound you make travels: dropping pliers on the boat floor, scraping a tackle box, even your boots on the ice. These unnatural sounds travel incredibly well through the water and can alert every fish in the area to your presence. Now, imagine a snowstorm. The falling snow has a remarkable dampening effect on the surface of the water. It creates a soft, white noise. The wind howls, creating its own background sound. This combination of factors helps to mask your presence. You can move around a little more freely without fear of spooking the very fish you're trying to catch. It's like nature has provided you with a cloak of invisibility. That stealth advantage is subtle, but when you're hunting the biggest, smartest fish in the system, every little edge counts. A common argument against fishing in a snowstorm is the cold. People think the plummeting air temperature must send the fish into a state of shock. But we have to remember the difference between air and water. Water is an incredible insulator. While the air temperature might drop 20 or 30 degrees, the water temperature, especially a few feet below the surface or under the ice, will change very, very slowly, if at all. The fish are already living in a cold water environment. Their bodies are fully acclimated to it. The sudden blizzard is primarily an atmospheric event. It affects the light, the pressure, and the surface, but it doesn't instantly flash freeze the lake. So the pike are not suddenly becoming lethargic because of the cold. They are still in their comfort zone, temperature-wise, but all the other conditions, the pressure, the light, the vulnerable prey, are suddenly shifting to be perfectly in their favor. Let's focus on the bait fish for a moment. They are the key to this whole puzzle. When a storm system moves in, with its wind and pressure changes, schools of forage fish like perch, shiners, or ciscos start to get nervous. The wind can create currents that push them off their usual structures. The changing light can confuse them. They might break up from their tight defensive schools and become scattered. This is a 5-star buffet for a pike. Instead of having to charge into a massive, organized school of bait, the pike can now pick off single, confused, and easy targets. It's the difference between chasing a whole flock of birds versus picking off one that got separated from the group. The storm creates panicked prey, and there is no better signal for a predator to start feeding. Finding areas where the wind is pushing into a point or a bay can be a goldmine, because that's where these disoriented bait fish will end up. So, what do you throw when you can barely see 10 feet in front of you? This is not the time for subtlety. In the low visibility of a snowstorm, a pike's vision is reduced, just like ours. They will rely much more heavily on their other senses, especially their lateral line, which detects vibration in the water. This means your lure choice is critical. You need something that moves water and sends out strong signals. This is prime time for lipless crankbaits with loud rattles, big, thumping paddle-tail swim baits on a heavy jig head, even oversized spinnerbaits with large Colorado blades that create a palpable thump, thump, thump as they move through the water. The goal is to make it easy for the pike to find your bait. You want them to feel it coming long before they ever see it. Leave the finesse gear at home. This is power fishing. Just as vibration becomes more important, so does color. But maybe not in the way you think. On a bright, sunny day with clear water, natural subtle colors are often the best choice. A lure that looks like a real perch or shiner. But in the gray, murky, filtered light of a snowstorm, those subtle patterns just disappear. They become invisible. Now is the time to break out the most obnoxious, loud, and high-contrast colors in your tackle box. We're talking brilliant chartreuse, hot orange and fire tiger patterns, stark whites or even solid blacks that create a strong silhouette against the snowy sky from below. You're not trying to trick the fish into thinking your lure is a real minnow. You're trying to make it so intensely visible that it grabs their attention from a distance and triggers a reaction strike. It's about being seen in a world of gray. Timing is absolutely everything with this pattern. There are two key windows to focus on. The first is the pre-storm window. This is often the hour or two right before the first snowflakes begin to fall. You can feel it in the air. The sky gets that deep, heavy gray color, the wind picks up, and the barometric pressure is taking a nosedive. The fish feel this more intensely than we do. They know a major change is imminent, and this often triggers an aggressive feeding response as they try to load up on calories before the storm hits. If you can be on the water during this specific period, you can experience some of the fastest action of the entire year. It's a short window, and you have to be ready for it. But the fishing can be absolutely electric. It's the appetizer before the main course. Then comes the main event, the during the storm peak. This is what separates the dedicated from the casual. When the snow is coming down thick and heavy and the wind is blowing, most people have already gone home. But this is often when the biggest, most cautious fish decide to eat. All the factors we've discussed, the low light, the chaos, the disoriented bait, are now at their maximum. This is the prime hunting time. You have to be willing to endure the conditions. Your guides will freeze up. You'll have to constantly knock snow off your reel. But the reward can be immense. A bite in the middle of a blizzard feels different. It's often not a subtle tap, but a violent, arm-wrenching strike from a fish that is hunting with pure aggression. This is the window where you have the best possible chance of encountering a true fish of a lifetime. Now, let's have a serious talk. This kind of fishing is not for beginners, and it's not something to be taken lightly. Safety is paramount. Fishing in a snowstorm can be genuinely dangerous if you are not prepared. First, you need proper clothing. That means multiple layers, waterproof and windproof outerwear, and gear that will keep you warm and dry even when you're getting blasted by the elements. Hypothermia is a real and present danger. Second, you must tell someone exactly where you are going and when you plan to be back. Cell service can be spotty in bad weather. A GPS unit or a reliable navigation app on your phone is non-negotiable, as whiteout conditions can cause you to become completely disoriented. This isn't a casual afternoon trip. It is a calculated expedition that requires respect for Mother Nature. No fish is worth risking your life for. Okay, so you're geared up and you're committed. Where do you actually go? During a storm, pike won't necessarily be in the same places they are on a calm day. You need to think about where the storm is concentrating the bait. Look for wind-blown points, the mouths of bays, and sharp inside turns on a shoreline. These are areas where the current created by the wind will naturally push and trap baitfish. Also, focus on major transition areas. A classic spot is the edge of a large, deep weed bed that drops off into the main lake basin. The pike will use the weed edge as an ambush point, waiting for schools of bait to be pushed out into the open water. You're not looking for subtle spots. You're looking for obvious high-percentage areas where a hungry predator would set up to intercept an easy meal. Let the weather show you where to fish. How should you work your lure in these conditions? While the pike might be aggressive, their metabolism is still governed by the cold water. They aren't going to chase a bait halfway across the lake at high speed. The key is to slow things down, but not too slow. A slow, steady retrieve with a lure that has a lot of thump, like that big swim bait or spinnerbait, is often the ticket. You want to keep the lure in the strike zone for as long as possible, giving the pike ample time to locate it and decide to strike. Occasional pauses can also be incredibly effective. Letting a suspending jerkbait sit motionless for 5, 10, even 15 seconds can be agonizing, but it's often during that pause that a following pike will commit. It's a balance between grabbing their attention with vibration and giving them an easy target to eat. We need to directly attack the hunkered down myth, the belief that when a storm hits, all fish go to the deepest part of the lake, lay on the bottom, and wait it out. Now, is this true for some fish? Absolutely. A small 1-pound perch is prey. When chaos erupts, its best survival strategy is to hide and hope for the best. It's programmed for defense, but a 40-inch 20-pound pike is not prey. It is the king of this environment. Its programming is entirely different. It is built for offense. While the smaller fish are cowering in fear, the big predators are on the move. They recognize these conditions as a prime opportunity. They are patrolling those weed edges and drop-offs, actively seeking out the very fish that are trying to hide. So, when someone says the fish aren't biting in a storm, what they really mean is the small, easy-to-catch fish aren't biting. The giants, however, have just clocked in for their shift. Let me paint you a picture from a real trip. I remember this one day in late November. The forecast was calling for a massive snow system to move in around noon. My buddy and I got out on the water early. The morning was dead calm, high pressure, and we didn't have a single follow. We were starting to doubt ourselves. Around 11:30, the sky turned to lead, the wind started to pick up, and the first few flakes started to fall. It was like a switch was flipped. On his second cast into the wind, my buddy's rod just doubled over. No tap, no warning, just a heavy freight train pull. After a tough fight, a fat 38-inch pike was in the net. Over the next 2 hours, as the snow got heavier and heavier, we landed 4 more fish over 35 inches. We were cold, wet, and couldn't feel our fingers. But we were laughing because we knew we had cracked the code. The worse the weather got, the better the fishing became. There's another subtle scientific factor at play here: dissolved oxygen. In the dead of winter, especially under the ice, oxygen levels in the water can become stratified or even depleted in certain areas. A powerful storm with strong winds does something interesting. It churns and aerates the surface water, helping to mix it and introduce more dissolved oxygen. While this might be a minor factor, it can contribute to a brief but noticeable spike in fish activity. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. This slight uptick in available oxygen can give both the prey and the predators a little jolt of energy, contributing to the overall feeding activity. It's another small piece of the puzzle that shows how the dynamic, chaotic environment of a storm can be a positive trigger for the entire aquatic ecosystem, at least from a predator's point of view. It's also crucial to understand the post-storm lull. The magic window doesn't last forever. Often, as soon as the snow stops, the wind dies down, and the skies start to clear, the bite will shut off just as quickly as it started. As the high-pressure system builds in behind the storm, the barometer will start to rise. This seems to be the signal for the pike to end their feeding spree and retreat to their holding areas to digest their meals. I've seen it happen dozens of times. You'll be in the middle of an incredible bite, and then it's like someone turns off a light switch. It's over. This is why timing is so critical. You can't just go the day after a blizzard and expect the same results. You have to be there, in the moment, when the conditions are at their peak. It's a fleeting but powerful opportunity. This brings us to a topic that has nothing to do with fish and everything to do with the person holding the rod: mental toughness. Let's be honest, fishing in a snowstorm is not comfortable. It's cold. You will be wet. Your hands will ache. Your equipment will freeze. There will be a constant voice in the back of your head telling you to go home and sit by the fire. The ability to ignore that voice, to stay focused, and to continue making confident casts when you are physically miserable is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. It's a mental game. You have to truly believe that the next cast could be the one. The reward for this perseverance isn't just a big fish. It's the satisfaction of knowing you earned it. You endured something that 99% of other anglers would not, and you were rewarded for it. Your gear is your lifeline in these conditions, and it will be pushed to its limits. A snowstorm will find any weakness in your setup. Your rod guides will constantly freeze over with ice, requiring you to knock them clear before every other cast. Your fishing line, especially monofilament or fluorocarbon, can become stiff and brittle in the cold and will hold ice. Using a line conditioner spray can make a world of difference. Your reel's grease can thicken in the freezing temperatures, making it feel sluggish and rough. It is absolutely essential to have well-maintained gear that you trust. This is not the time to be testing out a new, unproven reel. You need reliable equipment that won't fail you when you finally hook into that monster pike you've been working so hard for. A gear failure at the critical moment is a heartbreaking experience you want to avoid at all costs. In the end, the proof is in the pictures. Scroll through social media. You'll see countless photos of anglers holding up nice fish on beautiful sunny days. Those are great, but pay attention to the pictures of the true giants, the real behemoths. How many of them are taken with snow falling in the background? How often is the angler bundled up in heavy gear with ice in their beard? You'll start to notice a pattern. The fish that become local legends, the ones that people talk about for years, are often caught in the most miserable conditions imaginable. While everyone else is waiting for that perfect, comfortable day, a small handful of dedicated, maybe slightly crazy anglers are out there in the storm, doing battle with monsters. The question is, which group do you want to be in? Are you content with average, or are you willing to brave the storm for a chance at legendary? So, what's the final verdict? We've torn apart the old myths and looked at the cold, hard facts. We learned that a plummeting barometer isn't a curse. It's a dinner bell for monster pike. We learned that the chaos, the low light, and the noise of a snowstorm aren't things to be avoided. They are tools to be used, creating the perfect hunting ground for an apex predator. The most important takeaway, the real aha moment, is this. You're not just enduring a snowstorm. You are actively using the storm as your greatest ally. You're leveraging the chaos that sends baitfish into a panic and gives big, wary pike the confidence to feed aggressively. This simple shift in mindset changes everything. Instead of dreading that winter weather advisory, you'll start to see it as a green light. It's your exclusive invitation to a private party where only the biggest fish are on the guest list. Thank you for sticking with me through the storm. If this video challenged what you thought you knew, do me a huge favor and smash that like button and subscribe for more content that breaks the old rules. And now, I really want to hear from you. What's the absolute craziest weather you've ever fished in, and what did you catch? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's talk about it.